Doctor, why did you leave medicine?
We have a word in Iraq which is mahab. I sometimes think I was mahab crazy. I left it because I thought that God wanted me to. I didn't want to. When I was in between cardiac arrests one day, not mine, but resuscitating the dead. I was very good at resuscitating the dead. And one day, I said to God, thank you so much for enabling me to be at the hospital I always wanted to work at and train at, St Thomas's in London opposite Big Ben. And I never want to leave here, God. Thank you for sending me here. And I said, what next, Lord? And he said very clearly, you've got to go in the church, in the ministry. And I said, Lord, but I'm good at what I do. Why should I go in the church? And then I said, how? Why? And I am quite used to having conversations with God. And God said to me, I want you to go to the Church of England. And I said, Lord, do you realise they're not even all saved? So I caught it. It's quite common to fight when God wants you to do something. Do you know how long I fought it for? Half an hour. And then I gave in. And then I left the medical world. Well, I say I left it, but I didn't really leave it. Because I went off to do my theology in Cambridge. And in all my vacations from the Vicar factory, I went back and did medical work. So for several weeks a year, I was still gassing people, because I was a gas man. I would put people to sleep either with drugs or sermons. So I went off to Cambridge, did my vicar training, then on my one day off a week, I used to go back to the operating theatre and do medical work. And then I literally got sent to Coventry. And it was an Ulsterman who sent me. My bishop was Roy Williamson from here. And he sent me to Coventry. He said, your calling is more than just this diocese. Go. So I went.
Thank you, Andrew. Number 2.
Canon White, can you set Iraq in the context of biblical history?
How long have you got? Well, in the context of biblical history, it really starts at the very beginning. Well, actually, not at the very beginning. Genesis chapter 2, not 1. Because the Garden of Eden, God created the world. I might be an Anglican, but I still believe that God made the world. Alright? But he made it in between the Gihon and Gush rivers, the Ashur River, the Tigris and the Euphrates. And for God to do something between the Tigris and the Euphrates, means he had to do it in Iraq. And then as you look on in the Bible, you see that the next major thing in the Bible from Iraq was Abraham. Abraham was from is in Iraq. It's down south. Of the Chaldeans. And so salvation history really begins with Abraham. And he went to Canaan through the desert from Iraq. So very beginning. And then the next time we see the Bible in Iraq is with Job. The book of Job, one of the oldest books in the Bible. And he says that, you know, when there was a bit of a tension between Job's lot and people from Assyria, well, they fought against the Mandeans and the Sabians. You've never heard of them, have you? Right at the beginning of Job. The Mandeans and the Sabians are the wet people. You don't believe me? They are the followers of John the Baptist. That they existed hundreds and thousands of years before. But when John the Baptist came, they became his followers. So their services every day are in water. They celebrate their liturgy in water. They have a cross, but their cross has a towel hanging around it. You'd need a towel if you were a Mandean. So then, after the Sabians and the Mandeans, the next time you really hear about it is when the second exile of the Jews happens. That was not to Egypt, that was the Babylonian exile. They were taken from Israel to Babylon. I once said to one of my little boys in church, I'm going to talk to you today about the place where Jesus was born, Bethlehem. That's where Jesus first came. And I was in Bethlehem last week. And the little boy put his hand up. Bruno, my father, he didn't first go to Bethlehem. I said, oh no. He said, he came to Rome. I said, really? He said, do you remember when Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego were in the flames? That was down the road in Hilla, in Baghdad. Well, Jesus came and joined them. Do you believe me? He said. I said, it's a little bit hard not to. So every time I sing O Little Town of Bethlehem, I think really O Little Town of Babylon. So there's Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, then the stories of Daniel and Ezekiel. All of them happened in Iraq, in the exile of the Jews, of the exile of the people of Israel to Babylon. So it's quite firmly fixed within Scripture that Iraq was at the centre of this book we call the Bible. I could go a lot longer, but I might put you to sleep, and I'm rather good at that.
Canon White, could you tell us something about the significance of the history of Baghdad, please?
Well, as I was just saying, right from the birth recent development. You know, instead of being thousands of years old, it's only about 1,000 and something. And Baghdad was very significant because it was where the Euphrates and the Tigris, the two rivers, near where they met. It was the land between the rivers. And so much happened around there. And it was interesting that there was a lady called Gertrude Bell. Has anybody ever heard of her? Well, Gertrude Bell. Anybody?
Yeah, the bishop.
Ah, you know about Gertrude? She's buried in my church. She did believe in God, but you know we do dispatching. So, she's there. She was an English archaeologist, very famous, and she put a lot of emphasis on the history of Baghdad, and what she discovered was really quite significant. And she was sent over to Iraq to work by one Joseph Chamberlain, who was one time Foreign Minister and Chancellor of the Exchequer of England. Anybody know about Joseph Chamberlain? You do? I must tell you something which isn't really related. One day, I said to my little boy, when he was 11, I said, Yossi, what do you want to do when you grow up? He said, I want to go to Cambridge and then become Prime Minister. I said, what, no gap, just Cambridge Prime Minister? He said, yes. I said, why? He said, we have never had a good Prime Minister. My son's great-great-grandfather was Neville Chamberlain, Joseph Chamberlain's son. That's my wife's side.
Canon White, why did you go to Iraq to work?
Do you really want to know that? I was working in Iraq before the war in 2003 because of my reconciliation job and being sent by an Ulsterman to Coventry. But then, when I was at Coventry, I got diagnosed as having MS, multiple sclerosis. I worked there for 7 years, going back and forwards to Iraq and the Middle East. And the Church of England, in their wisdom, told me I was too ill to work for the Church of England anymore. So I went to Baghdad. And there was no problem. No Church of England doctors there. So that was what. And I love it. Next one. Are we nearly finished?
Canon White, can you tell us, do you get on well with Muslims and Jews?
Do I get on well with Muslims and Jews? Well, most of my staff are Muslim and Jews. Yeah, I love them. I really, really love the Jewish people because it's so much part of my history and learning. I actually went and studied at a Jewish ultra-Orthodox yeshiva, like a Jewish seminary, in Mea Shearim, in the most Orthodox part of Jerusalem. And that really laid the foundation of my interest in the Middle East. Eventually, I ended up going to Iraq, and there most of my friends and colleagues were Muslims. And the really interesting thing is, to this day, I have Muslim staff and Jewish staff and even a few Christians. And all of them get on so well together that it's quite interesting that we have 6 Jews left in Iraq, only 6. The residue of Babylonian exile. And many of the Jews left in 1958, not 48 when Israel was established, but in 58 when they started killing the Jews. And one of my doctors in my clinic, I have a clinic, I may have left the medical world, but we established a clinic and a school in Baghdad and now in Jordan and Jerusalem as well. And there I have Jewish and Muslim doctors. And the really interesting thing is, at the moment under this extreme terrorism when ISIS has been killing so many of their Christians, I have a huge amount of relief work going on, both in Erbil in northern Iraq, in Kurdistan, and also in Jordan. And my work in Iraq is headed up by one of my doctors, who's called Sarah Ahmed, and she's a Muslim. Amazing.
Thank you. Question number 6.
Did you write this question yourself?
I certainly didn't, because the person who wrote it spelled effective with an E instead of an
I did send them to the Dean at 6:30 this morning.
You rang me at 20 past 6 this morning.
I woke you up.
Canon White, how has extremism affected the lives of Christians in Iraq and the wider Middle East?
The fact is that Christians throughout the Middle East are under target by some of the Islamic extremists. But in Iraq, it has completely transformed our life. We used to have security, we used to have privilege, we used to have the ability to function normally. And then ISIS arrived. And ISIS was in part the creation of the previous Iraqi leadership of Nouri al-Maliki, who was the creation of the Americans and the British. So I was in favour of the war against Saddam because I thought it was so awful, the rule of Saddam. And I was there. Nobody else was there, just me, the only one. But I was completely and utterly wrong. Things today are 1,000 times worse than before that war. That war which I supported. I was wrong. You see, when we make a wrong decision, we have to be bold enough to acknowledge that we made a mistake. It's not falling that's so bad. It's not getting up. And I fell. But now I get up. I say I was wrong. And we will not leave our people. We will stand with them. And for the Christians now, they're being persecuted. say that I had 1,276 members of my congregation killed. That's more than everybody in this cathedral tonight. But now I have no idea how many of my people have been killed. No idea. And we go around and meet them. And I meet those who have fled as refugees. And I hear the stories of how they have had their husbands or fathers killed. Some have had their women taken. And I'll be honest with you, I just cry. It's so awful. We have started a school for the children, because one day when Tara, my colleague, and I were visiting one of the families, the children were crying, and I said to them, "What can I do for you?" I said, "You know I can't get your daddy back, but is there anything else I can do?" And they said, "Yes, more to school." And from scratch we started them a school. We've now got nearly 300 children in our school. Wonderful teachers, wonderful classrooms, and the children have got joy there. And this little boy came to me a few weeks ago, about 6 weeks ago, and he said, "You're my daddy now, aren't you?" And I said, "Amada, yes, I'm your daddy." The other day, just before Easter, we went into the school class, and I gave all the children a cross. And one of the teachers said to the children the next day when I was at school, "Where have you put your cross?" And the children said, "It's in our heart." And one of the little boys said, he was crying, he said, "Abuna, I want a cross for my daddy." He said, "Daesh, ISIS, they killed my daddy." So I said, "Yosef, take a cross and give it to your daddy. I will go with you to the altar, and you can put the cross on the altar, and that can be your daddy's cross. And I know he will have it." He said, "I want my dad." I said, "Yosef." They're all called Yosef. The boys are called Yosef, and the girls are called Mariam or Mary. Mary and Joseph. So I said to him, "I will be your daddy, Yosef." He said, "Abuna, how can you be my daddy? You have to be everybody's daddy." I said, "Don't worry, I can manage." So he took his cross to the altar and gave it to his daddy. Who asked the question? Can I give you a cross? This is the cross I gave you. This one is yours.
Question of yourself.
Canon White, have you ever been captured by extremists, and what makes you stay there?
Have I ever been captured by terrorists? They captured me ages ago. In 2004, I was just an insignificant little guy. and I couldn't see anything. But they didn't take my mobile phone off me. So I put the light on, and I looked around the floor, and it was full of chopped off fingers and toes. And I thought, oh dear, is it going to be mine? Please, Lord, not my fingers. Anything but my fingers. Well, it was a very long story, but I managed to find I had rather a lot of money on me. So I managed to pay my way out. But that was one occasion where I was actually taken and locked up. But there have been many other occasions where I've been, just shot at or attacked. But I'm still here.
Canon White, have you ever acted as a rescue negotiator, and have you been successful?
I just said I was trying to rescue hostages and I got taken myself. I have negotiated 136 hostage cases in Iraq. Many more elsewhere. I've been more successful when people have been taken in Gaza or in places like that. But in Iraq, 136 cases, 46 I have got back alive. Every time I didn't get people back, it's just devastating. I cry. Some of these cases haven't just been overnight. They've been 6 years long, this was, before we got the bodies back. So we usually have got the bodies back, but we have got only 46 people back alive. But that's still more than anybody else has ever got back. So, not that good at it, but nobody is. I like your blazer. I like your crest. Very good.
Canon White, is it true that you have schools in Bethlehem and Jordan?
Is it true that
You have schools in Bethlehem?
I do? I have the Macartin school in Bethlehem. Interesting talking about hostages. Some of you, the older people, will remember that there was a siege in Bethlehem in 2002. And there were many people held in the Church of the Nativity. And I negotiated the siege of Bethlehem. And one day, when I was talking with, thank you very much, my friend in Bethlehem, who made that cross, he is called Joseph, the carpenter. and he made this cross. And Joseph, I said to Joseph one day, we were in the midst of the siege, I said, what do you really want? He said, we need a school. So I said, you expect me to get you a school? He said, yes. I said, how? He said, we know you. You can do anything. I said, I can't, but I know like Bethlehem. We looked at the property and the land, and we needed £1 million quickly. So I got £1 million quickly from my friends. It's good having friends who can give you £1 million. It's not one friend, it's lots of friends. And now that school has cost us well over 7 or 8 million. It is now a school of 500 children. It is recognised as the best school in Bethlehem. And they're just wanting me to build them a new high school because there isn't enough room for any more children. So yes, I've got a school in Bethlehem. And we've started the one in Jordan that the children wanted us to make. And I'm in class 5. They have put me in class 5. So it's, when I go there, I have to line up with class 5. I'm a little bit bigger than most of the children in the class, but at least I'm not in class 1 anymore. I used to be.
Canon White, tell us, are you alive in Iraq now?
Well, that is an interesting story. Am I allowed by Iraq? Yes. Am I allowed by the Archbishop of Canterbury? No. The Archbishop of Canterbury used to be my co-director. I chose him from the diocese to come and work with me. He was like my assistant. And now he's my boss. Used to be, Justin, come here. Now it's your grace. But so many of my people are now out of Iraq in places like Jordan, and I am still with them, and I'm not leaving them. But one of the issues is that in my clinic, I said I had MS, and in my clinic we found the treatment for it, autologous stem cell treatment from our own blood, not from aborted fetuses or embryos or anything unethical like that. And so I have to go to Baghdad for my treatment every 3 months. The treatment can only be done there. We tried to do it in Erbil, and the electricity in Erbil is even worse than Baghdad, because we've got a really mega generator, gifted the Americans before they left us. So that the answer to your question is maybe yes, maybe no, maybe I don't know.
That leads us on to question number 11.
Canon White, how do you cope with your demanding lifestyle in light of your MS?
Your singing is very good. I was really impressed by your singing. Really good. So I want to give you a course. Now, my demanding lifestyle, a bit demanding today. You know, I thought Ireland was a tiny little country. We spent most of the day driving, haven't we? From one meeting to the next. I cope with my lifestyle partly because I get that treatment I just mentioned. Secondly, because I have a very good relationship with British Airways. And people often say, where do you live? I say on seat 1D. Because I spend more time there than anywhere else. But, by God's grace, I manage. Yes, I live a crazy life. I know I live a crazy life because BA gave me a gold card for life. Never needs to be renewed again. They said, you don't have to fly one more time. You've earned so many air miles, you've got it forever. I said, what, till I die? They said, yes, until you die. And what's more, you've not just got it for you, you also earned enough points to get 3 more cards to give to your favourite people. Now my son Jacob was really upset because he was not 18, so he couldn't get it. My eldest one, Yossi, could. But the question isn't about BA air miles, is it? Sorry.
The final question.
The final one?
Yes.
Oh, I was enjoying them. I was just getting into them. Just getting into them, and you want to stop them. Don't say that to me.
Canon Andrew, may I shake your hand?
You can. You've got a lovely smile.
You have been my hero for 6 years.
Why?
Because...
What did I do 6 years ago?
Well, I think it's 6 years ago. The clinic at your church was blown up.
It was. I forgot about that. Yeah,
Well,
it's
you
quite
got it.
bad. Yes.
So I read about it in the Church Gazette, and it was my golden wedding anniversary, and my husband read the article as well. So we asked our friends and relations who were coming to our party.
I remember that. And you helped us restore the clinic. And within 5 weeks of being totally blown up, we were up, rebuilt and running again. Had a cross.
And it is such a privilege to have him here in his busy schedule. The question I have to ask you is something I know nothing about, so you have to tell us. Sorry I went off piste, but anyway, here you are. This is your question. Has the megavoice talking Bible been useful in the Middle East?
Oh.
Obviously, yes.
You know about the mega voice talking Bible? Do you? This is the Bible. And all of our religious things were destroyed. Everything was removed. And the Bibles were destroyed. The churches were blown up. And one day in Jerusalem, I was sitting down And these have transformed the lives of our Christians in Iran. They have lost everything. And then suddenly a man from here gives us these Bibles. And he doesn't just give them to us, he gets Christians from around the world to buy mega voice Bibles for us. And they're solar powered, so they don't need batteries, they don't run out, and forever the Word of God can be taken to these people. And if you can imagine, these people have lost everything. We had some people from Voice of the Martyrs with us one day, and they said, how is it that all of your people are so happy when you've got nothing? One of our young girls turned around and said, when you've lost everything, Jesus is all you've got left. We have lost everything, but we haven't lost Jesus. And now we've got the Mega Voice Bible. This is a wonderful thing. And I thank you as a people that you have given them to us. And if you want to help us, you can buy a Bible for us and send it to us. It's really phenomenal that from here to Baghdad we have got the Word of God. You see, the thing is that we have a lot in common. I know that there are places I visit all the time, but you as a small nation, you as a city have suffered so much. I'm really against this competition of evil. Oh, you've only had 50 people killed. We've had 120. You know, it's not like that. One person is everything. So it doesn't matter the numbers. You, as a people, have suffered. We, as a people, have suffered. We, as Christians, are family. We are one. We are not just people far off in a strange land. We are people nearby. We are your brothers and your sisters. We are your family. And we can't do it without you. But with you, we can. Will you stay with us? Just like you have stayed with us. Just like you have shown us light and darkness. May the light of Christ shine from Enniskillen to Baghdad. Look, I've got the light of Christ in my head. You can have a pen with a light. Bye, I've finished now.